What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs. And today was a sideways day. You can even see on the hourly that it does look very much like a bull flag. The bulls are still back in town. We are still in the rally. One thing to understand is that the current moment that we are in is still a very low volume week. A lot of people are still away on vacation. So that's one thing to consider this week. That's why we haven't really, the market's been kind of dying out. Not a lot of big movements. We had some big movements this morning, and then we just kind of chilled out. We did start to sell a little bit. I think the whole new variant was kind of scaring people because I know there's some NFL teams that are pushing back their schedule. You have different restrictions going on in New York, and so there's a lot of different things going on that are causing perhaps the panic this morning, because I noticed that Moderna did push this morning. Some of your stay-at-home stocks did push early this morning. And then after that, everything just kind of died out. Everything else kind of just pulled back. They wanted to die, but they still held. And that's what's important, is to see what is holding now. Again, because I believe we still have that low volume this week. I think next week, or possibly even the end of this week, we could start seeing some real big volume push in, start getting some bigger runs back up this weekend or going into the weekend, setting up for next week. Again, we are starting the new year. You're going to get that the new earnings money coming in for that next quarter, that Q4 coming in. And so it's going to be quite interesting in the later half of this week and going into next week. Again, we do have a full week, but again, still vacation mode this week. So you just have to be mindful of that. But everything going forward, even Bitcoin, one thing that was interesting is Bitcoin and gold did sell off today, gave back a lot of gains, massive pullback. So inflation is something typically that's been driving Bitcoin for the most part. But the gold play essentially was interesting in my eyes because of the fact that people don't see fear. And I think the selling of the gold today essentially is triggering to me that what is about ready to happen is that we're going to see a massive push, and you're going to see gold pull back pretty hard. Now, is gold and Bitcoin essentially going to have that correlation now because of essentially Bitcoin being referred to as the digital gold? So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But ultimately, when Bitcoin does pull back, and notice big tech will suffer for the most part as well. So there's a lot going on there, and something to be mindful of, because different correlations do happen throughout the different cycles. Sometimes you'll have Bitcoin will run, the market will run with it. Sometimes Bitcoin won't. And then again, like your chips or your essentially other different research companies will have that ratio. And so that's what you're kind of looking for, is what's the ratio. A good example of this would essentially be, well, you have the Bitcoin is in coin is one ratio. Every time Bitcoin pushes up, it's essentially correlated with Coinbase and MicroStrategies as well. And then you get your chips, which essentially your MU, AMD, NVIDIA, and then your LRX kind of is a lagger between all those. So when you get big pushes in the chip space, you're going to get that lagger in LRCX. Even ASML is another big one. I do like ASML a lot. It's another big chip play I do like to play quite a bit. It's been the chips have been really strong, and going into this Q4 earnings, I think chips will crush it, especially since I said the supply chains aren't as badly hit as they thought they would be. And so that is something to keep in mind. So this week, essentially, you're kind of just setting up for what is to come, especially the new year and everything. I think we're gonna come running out of the gate. There's no catalyst to make a sell. We do know there is a catalyst coming in the rate raises. When that does come, we'll get our correction at that point. In my mind, that's the way I see it. Aside from that, we're pretty in the clear, and we're going to really see some big numbers coming into Q4 here. Now, another big thing to keep in mind too is a lot of this data comes out saying consumer confidence isn't there, whatever the case is, and then you have earnings and they just blow them out of the water. So that's something to keep in mind. People are starting to loosen their belts when it comes to, or loosen their wallets a little bit more. Moving forward as of late, we're just a couple of months ago, right? We're still back at the really high savings rate. So people are starting to become more comfortable. People are starting to become numb to the whole the virus and living with the virus. So it'll be interesting to see. Now going forward, we have Tesla. Again, I want to see what Tesla does. Had those couple monster moves. Now it's playing range. I can actually see this consolidating for a minute before it actually starts taking off, but it is playing a really good range as long as it can essentially hold this 1071 mark. I think we are really solid. I was kind of expecting this to try to come back down to at least the 1K mark and do a retest down that way, or at least the 122 for the daily retest. I think that's still very much possible in the next coming days. I think we want to get a little bit more selling because we had this rocket straight up, and within those 2-3 days, once we got there was a lot of uncertainty that went away, and so we had this rocket that propelled us for a couple days. I think last week, and now I think we're going to start seeing some push, a little bit of pullback could be possible. We may not. We may just go straight up from this point. It really just depends on the market and seeing what are the laggers. I know the premium on Tesla is still extremely high, so they're expecting another big move coming. Google, again, this one sold off a lot today, which is quite interesting, but it looks like it's bouncing back after hours. Shop, looks like it got forced back into the wedge, and now it's got another little micro wedge here that's trying to break out of. So a lot of these are kind of waiting for these to break out of some of these big resistance points, just because it could get a nice pop, but then it hits resistance and then takes a couple days. Amazon's really been struggling with this, and you're seeing some really nasty chop because of it, but it is playing range as well. So a lot of these are really consolidating very well. But going into tomorrow, even today, I played Moderna, had a nice pop. Again, from the COVID scare, and then after that, it just dumped. I think at that point, everything just dumped coming into the rest of the day, and then really didn't do much of anything at all. So again, I think everything's just setting up. Volume is ultimately what's playing out here. Even UPST, which was a major one I was watching today, this one just completely dumped, but it does look like a retest. If you look on the daily here, you get a break. I mean, it'd be great if we actually can sell off a little bit more down to the 141 mark. That'd be perfect. It'd be one I'd really like to get tomorrow if it does hit that point. So it's just being patient. I don't know. I've been saying that a lot lately over the past month. It's really been a lot about patience because we've seen a lot of chop with a lot of uncertainty and what's going on with rate raises and Powell and everything. So now that we got some clarification, we kind of know what's coming up. It just brought us into low volume, but we've seen the strength there last week. It is still there, but now we are in the holiday season, so the holiday week. So this is only, I think, but a delay. Everything is just kind of resting. We've taken one heck of a beating over the past month, and a lot of stocks. So a lot of stuff is starting to get ready to run. So it's just setting up for that. Airbnb looks like it got rejected. This is actually retesting. If you look here on the daily, we're seeing a lot of this pattern break and retesting. Even on Shop is the same way on the daily. The break and retest. Amazon break retest. You're getting a lot of breaks and retests. So I think this massive move is only within a couple days coming. Coin, it was original break. It looks like the retest came all the way through. Really, if we can get coin back above 270 tomorrow, I think that is very positive and could head back up. So essentially, Bitcoin could start moving back up from that point as well. And I think another big one for tomorrow, I do like CMG. It is holding where it looks like it's already retesting support here. So as long as it's holding the 1751 tomorrow, I think CMG also can start really pushing up going into earnings as well. Again, you're going to see these moves start to happen before earnings. They've been happening a lot sooner than normal. Normally they happen a week or two out before earnings. Now we're starting to see these moves happen like 3-4 weeks out, almost a month out. These moves start to get priced in, and then we kind of get stagnant a little bit more around earnings. But I think this next quarter we're really going to get a big run out of all these. So just being mindful, see what starts to run, see what's setting up, and then continue from there. But your Apples and your Facebooks already ran pretty hard, so I don't really expect much out of that. Facebook still has a lot to recover, but did get rejected really hard today and needs to retest. So for Facebook, even I'm still looking for another 33.7 is what I'm looking for that for a retest. And then if we do get that, I can see us really ripping back up. I think the whole market in general is setting up for a big move up. Again, we don't have a catalyst to sell. I think right now it's just more of a dip buying opportunity than anything else. It's just trying to time that dip buy and make sure you have time. I think if you have time, you'll be perfectly okay with what we got coming moving forward. So if you've made it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.